Welcome to another edition of Showtime with Coop. Insightful BS with my Laker teammates and NBA legends. And I told y'all, I kept telling you guys, I said, you know what? I'm going to get him. People were emailing me, texting me, Coop, you got to have Big Shot on. Big Shot, I'm like, Big Shot. Oh, Robert Horry. And finally, here he is. Big Shot Rob. How you doing, sir?
Man, I'm good, Coop. How you be, brother?
Man, I am so blessed. Again, thank you for joining us. We're talking about the 11th pick in the 92 draft, drafted by Houston, went on to play for three other teams, the Phoenix Suns, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Spurs. Rob, what we like to do on this show, because we get to let the fans know people, tell us about your early upcomings, okay? What it was like for you growing up. Who were some of your role models?
You know, growing up, I grew up in Alabama. If you look at my bio, it says Maryland. I was born in Maryland, because my dad was in the military. So, of course, back then they would be, go from station to post, to station to post. And then eventually he got shipped to Germany. And then that's when my mom like, oh, no, we're not going to Germany. And so he kind of stayed in Alabama. And after that, I just, when he came back doing his 3-year stint in Germany, by that time my mom had established herself as a teacher. And, you know how long distance relationships are. They don't really work out too well. So I grew up in Alabama. I had, you know what, Coop, I look back on my life and the people who were in my life as far as teachers and coaches, they all were great, man. And that's one of the things that's really beneficial to a lot of people when you grow up in a small town. Everybody treats you like they're your child. And I was very fortunate to have teachers and coaches that were always pushing me. I remember one time when I was in elementary school, we playing basketball and I kept going right. The coach goes over and says, you're not allowed to go right anymore because you're too good going right. You need to go left. I'm like, why? They can't stop me going right. I'm like, and then he's like, no, you need to go left. You know what I did? I dropped the ball and went to start playing baseball. I'm like, that's too hard, So it's one of those things. But then you look back on your life. I should just listen to him more and went left and did other things. And even when I got to middle school, my middle school coach was like, take over. It's basketball. We just having fun. He said, no, we need to win. Take over. And then when I got to high school, I think Richard Robertson, he was probably the most influential person, a man in my life other than my father. And he was just always on me to be better, from being taking over a team. When I was a sophomore, he's like, this is your team. It was your brother's team last year. This is your team now. And then even when I, go to class and miss a class, he was on me about getting my schoolwork and everything of that nature. So he was just great, man. It's funny stories. When you're a senior, you say, okay, I've never missed a day of school. I'm gonna take a day off, right? So I took a day off. By 9 o'clock, I hear a knock on my door, and it's my high school coach. Like, what are you doing? I said, man, I need a day off. He says, no, you don't. Get your butt up and get your clothes on, go to school. I said, okay, coach. I closed the door. I hit the doorbell. He says, why you 10 minutes late? He literally waited 10 minutes, came back to the, boy, I told you to put your clothes on. So I had to get up and go to school, man, because he wanted me to make sure I got my education. And so, growing up, those guys and those teachers were so influential in my life, man. I think for me, it was the best thing because I have my attention span can be short at times. When you have people like that in your life that are on you, they make you focus.
Rob, that's the one thing, if you can expound on that a little bit more. I always tell kids there is a life after basketball, and I'm glad that you hit on that. Obviously, your mom being a teacher, she wasn't going to let your academics, wane anyway. But again, it's always important when the coaches are after you, that person, that thing that you love the most, which is sports and basketball in this case here, wanted to do. And here's your coach after you about your academics. Talk a little bit about what that has done for you after basketball.
For me, it was always something that was high on my priority list. One of my greatest achievements was making, all academic team when I was in high school. I was academic player of the year in high school and player of the year basketball in high school. Wow. So those two accomplishments for me were just, fantastic. It made my mama smile. And then when I got into college, I was on the academic SEC all academic team. That was important for me. And then, I just recently graduated from college. So
congratulations, Rob.
Thanks. You know what's weird though? What made me really do it is your former teammate, Byron Scott. I saw where he went back and got his degree. And I was like, because I had always been tinkering with it. because when I left, I did 4 years of college. And while I was there, I did the easy way out. And I don't mean the easy way out in a bad way. I just took the minimum amount of classes. And all my coaches were mad at me for doing that. They said, if you fail a class, you'll be ineligible. I said, listen, this is me. I ain't failing no class, dude. I don't like failing at anything I do. So I just took, I did the 5-year program. So I said, you know what? Because I didn't think I'd play in the NBA. I want to, get my degree, be a coach / teacher, whatever it may be, because that's everybody in my mom's side of the family is teaching. And my dad was like, you're not going to the military, son. You're too tall, and I don't want nobody shooting at you. So I didn't do military, even though I was in ROTC and all that stuff, just for a backup plan. But the educational part was so important. And after I went back and got my degree, I don't think I've ever seen my mom smile this big. Not even in my first contract in the NBA, now on my big contract that I signed with the Lakers. But when I got my degree from the University of Alabama, my mom's smile was so huge, because, that's all she ever wants for your children to finish a job. And my education was great at Alabama, but I didn't finish because a bigger job called me. And I always tell people, you go to college to educate yourself and to get a good job. Hell, I had one of the best jobs ever playing in the NBA. It gets no better than that. So I never went back to finish. And, when COVID hit, I said, I don't like we're going to be going there for a while. So I'm going to be stuck in the house. I'm able to, finish my degree. And the people at the University of Alabama really helped me out. They told me all the classes I had to take. And I finally got my degree.
Congratulations, Rob. You know what? As basketball players, people don't think we we can be bad, but again, when you're that special child, did you ever get whippings, Rob? You ever get a whipping? Tell us about that one whipping you got that you really remember.
Oh, I remember a bunch of them. So get this. I was me and a friend of mine, we went to the store, and of course, I didn't have enough money. So I walked out of the store with this Reese cups. It was a 12-pack of Reese cups. And I said, you know what? I just put it in my notebook and walked out. So, of course, they caught me. And I can't believe I'm telling you the story, Coop, but this is how much I love you. I walked out, it was at a Piggly Wiggly, and they called my grandma. Because my mom was getting her master's, so she was in Huntsville, Alabama, getting her master's. And so let's just say this, my grandmama whooped me. Then my grandfather whooped me. And then my mom drove in from Huntsville. She whooped me. And then my dad drove in from South Carolina, and then he whipped me. So that let me know right there not to ever steal again. So I was like, man. And that was one of the things that I always said to myself. I said, you have to do what's right in life, and stealing is not right. And even though I know how big or small it is, Reese cups, even though they're still my favorite to the day, every time I pick up one, I think about those 4 ass whoopings I took.
Hey, Rob, it was so ironic, man. The same thing happened to me when I was 12. The guys were smoking, and this was at a Ralph's, and they was like, Cooper, it's your turn to get the cigarette. I didn't have any money, so I'm like you. So I walked in. Me and my cousin walked in. We looking around, and I grabbed a carton of Cools cigarettes off the thing, and I ran. We ran out the back, and there was this like 8-foot-high wall, and we had put a crate down there so you can jump on the wall and jump over the fence. Well, my cousin hit that mug. It was over the fence, man. Came my turn, here I come, I'm running. Rob, I got my leg over, and the dude grabbed me by my leg, man, and pulled me back over. And I'll never forget this. That man held me by the back of my shirt, said, you know what? You'll never be nothing but a little thief. You'll all the way home. Called my uncle. We lived 2 blocks from the store. Got home. When I walked in the house, my uncle came down and he goes, Mike, you all right? The guy that message you. I said, no. He said, you're going to be okay, man. You don't ever have to steal anything. Got home. He said, I want you to go upstairs and take all your clothes off. As I'm walking upstairs, my grandmother threw a shoe at me and hit me in the head, her house shoe. My uncle took me upstairs, Rob, and beat me with a belt. He said, Michael, I'm only doing this to make you a better person. That guy beat me, man. Rob, to this day, I never have stolen. You can leave $1 million out and with nobody, I'm always thinking somebody's gonna look at, I didn't steal. Never steal. You don't have to steal, man. So
at least he was nice about doing it. He was nice.
And I only got one. Rob got 4 of them.
Hey, I got 4 for one incident. I said, man, I'm never going to steal it. Hey, every time I see a Piggly Wiggly night, you'll see that many more, but you go to the and I see a Piggly Wiggly. I'm like, hey, even though, nowadays these shows, they show, Piggly Wiggly. I'm like, hey, I remember that time I took a butt 4 times.
What was Alabama like when you were growing up there and going to college there?
Growing up in Alabama was different. I know my wife, Candace, and she's from California, and I took her to Alabama, and she was like, this is a little different. Yeah, I said, every city's not the same. I grew up in a small town, so it's different. That's all I'm going to say about that. I give you an example. We were only allowed 2 black cheerleaders on the team. And my senior year, we put up a big ruckus about that, and we got 4 that year. So that was a good thing. And it was the first time ever in my life that I kind of feel like I had to stand up for my culture. Because to even go back even further, that in Little League, I played baseball. Baseball was my first love. And so Little League, we had a game, and the ball hit over. It was a foul ball. I'm playing first base, right in front of the opposing team's coach. And I was like, can you throw the ball? He said, boy, you better walk over and get this ball. And I looked around like, I just stood there. So make a long story short, I didn't make the All-Star team that year. And we only had 3 blacks make the All-Star. And one of the guys was, since we won the league, right? So whoever wins the league, the coach gets to be the coach of the All-Star team. I don't make the All-Star team. But what they would do is they will have the team that wins it plays the All-Star team to get them ready. And I'm the best player in the league, and I didn't make All-Star. And everybody's wondering why I didn't make it. And so I told the coach that day, I'm pitching. Let's just say this. My team, which was all black, and we only had 3 white guys on our team. It was reversed. We had 3 because 2 were brothers. They were the richest white kids in town. Their dad was a doctor. So we went to Pizza Hut after every game, so it was cool. And we had the one kid that was really, really poor white kid. Nobody wanted him on the team because he couldn't afford shoes and all this kind of stuff. But we had him on our team. And so I pitched in the All-Star game. We beat the All-Star team 30-4.
Wow.
This is an All-Star team now because
this is 9 innings.
I hit 3 home runs in the game. And everybody's like, why Robert didn't make the All-Star team? It was because of this guy that didn't, he was saying that I was a bad influence. I'm like, dude, you call me boy. Even though I'm only a teenager, in 12 years old, but I'm not going to stand for that. You call me a boy and tell me to fetch it. I'm like, no. So, that's one of the things that when you're growing up in Alabama, you remember the stories, you remember the streets you can't walk down and all these kinds of things. And it made you stronger as a person, but it also made you mindful of your environment. And I try to pass that along to my boys now, even though, in Cali is a little different situation, even with my middle son and my oldest son, you have to remind them, I say, hey, at the end of the day, you're black.
Yeah.
You got to be mindful of your surroundings regardless. I say, you might have money, but you're still black because they can't see. There's no thing because, hey, my dad's an NBA player, class and culture. My dad has money at class and culture. You're black. That's the first thing they see. And that's what the thing that going to Alabama will remind you of that because it's still a little suspect in certain places you go. And I'm trying to be nice the way I say it. So that says a little suspect.
You're listening to Showtime with Coop. We got Robert Horry on, man. He's been enlightening us with his whippings. But Rob, we're at the stage of our show right now where I call it Coop's Lightning Round. I'm going to give you 5 names, and you tell us as much or as little about the people I'm going to ask you about, okay?
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Your first one, Wimp Sanderson.
Great coach, plaid jacket, plaid palace, still kicking it live today. He's mad at me right now because we had a 20-year reunion. I didn't show up because I had to work on Spectrum. So he was mad. He's like, didn't you make enough money in your lifetime? I'm like, dude, don't be counting my money.
That's that one day up.
Don't count my money. I'm still going to make money because pretty soon I'm not going to be able to see. I'm not going to be as handsome. I got to put this face on TV while it lasts.
That's a good one, Rob. Latrell Sprewell.
Great teammate. Funny story about him. My dad's from Columbia. My dad lives in Columbia, South Carolina. And the first time I ever yelled at Sprewell we was playing South Carolina. I'm rolling, Coop. I'm killing in South Carolina because I'm playing in front of my family. Horry County is where Myrtle Beach and all that kind of stuff is from South Carolina. So I'm rolling, and Spree decides to take the last shot. He gets fouled and misses free throws. We go in overtime. So after the game, I was like, I laid into him, boy. He looked at me and says, "My bad, Rob. I was trying to." Now this is when he learned it's not about you. It's about going with the guy who's hot. I said, how many times I defer to you guys, And I'm the man on this team, and I'm deferring you, but great competitor, hard worker. And I think the best thing that ever happened to him was to get drafted by Golden State, because Don Nelson made him become a really good player. He was that guy that brought the best in Spree, because you could see the talent and the athleticism, but he just needed someone to bring that the IQ out, I should say.
Yeah. Rob, you know what? He had made a comment, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. He made a comment when he passed up on a big contract. I believe he was at New York, and he said, you know what? This ain't, I think it was like 50 million, 60 million, something like that. He said, this ain't enough for me to feed my kids. You know what? That bothered a lot of people, the average working person. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
You know, it bothered me too. And, you know, I got the inside scoop on that story, and I'm not going to reveal it because, you know, it's a brotherhood at the end of the day. And it was just weird that he said that, but it was a lot of things in his life going on personally, the reason he made that decision. I just think he wasn't, to me, I thought he was tired of basketball. And I'm just saying that was one of the reasons. He was, you know, he wanted to go hang out with his kids and do other things. Spree was a tech guy.
Yeah.
Always trying to build stuff. He would bring in speakers and just, you know, you go in his dorm room, he had speakers in every corner, and he had them hooked up to his alarm clock. You know, this is before, you know, the technologies of the day, but somehow he had wired it to some little rinky-dink alarm clock. So when it went off, the whole room started blaring, because we used to have practices at 6 a.m. And next thing you know, at 5:30, his alarm goes off and wakes up the whole dorm. So, you know, he was a tech guy. He was always twinkling with stuff. So he was a good guy, man. You
know what? I figured it had to be something like that because, again, but it's just how he said it that kind of irked people. But I like Spree too. I really respect him. Your nemesis at Spectrum, James Worthy.
Hey, man. When I think of James, I think of the best voice ever. You know, everybody thinks of his game, but his voice, man, is so great. I know you have, Coop, but people don't understand how he can sing, and he knows all these lyrics, and he knows everybody. He's just, you know, a great guy. One thing I wish out of, you know, Otis Thorpe, who was my mentor when I was with the Rockets, from day one, he tried to get me to pick up a golf club, and I never would do it. I wish I would have, so I'd be good enough to kick James's butt so I can take some of that money and talk trash on the show.
You're pretty good, Rob, I heard you're pretty good, though.
Yeah, but Otis is really good, man. Him and Clyde, they're really good. So I've been playing with them, so I got better. But now I'm too old in the game now, Coop. I ain't picking up no clubs, man. It's too expensive.
Yeah, same with Coop. Coop doesn't golf either.
Oh, no, I ain't chasing after that little ball. Anyway, next person, Phil Jackson.
I never had a conversation with this guy.
What?
Can you believe this?
As a coach?
This is a story I tell everybody. I've never had a full-on conversation with him. This is the closest conversation we had. I was getting treatment for my back with Gary Vee. You know Gary Vee. We all love it. Phil, I think he had something with his foot or something. So he comes in. I'm on the table. He sits down. We've never talked. He looks at me. He's like, "What happened between you and Danny Ainge?" I said, "I didn't like him." I said, "So." I threw the towel in his face because he told me to hit Mario in the face with the ball on purpose. Mario L is my boy. So you know what? I never liked him. He's like, "Oh, okay." End the conversation.
That was it.
And this is after he traded for you. So at that point,
No. He didn't trade for me. I got traded for Cedric Sabalas when he went on his sabbatical in Lake Havasu or wherever it was he went. And I threw the towel in Danny Ainge's face, and then we got swapped. So this was after Dale. What's Dale? Dale. The coach Dale
Curry. Dale Curry.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a conversation that me and Phil had. But Phil, great guy. We always, you know, I don't consider conversations in a huddle a conversation. I consider it like Pop. I've had conversations with Pop, had a ton of conversations with Rudy T, but Phil and I, we've never had a conversation. You know, but I will thank Phil for this though. He introduced me to Walter Mosley. And because, you know, how Phil gives out books all the time. Mm-hmm. The first book he ever gave me was called Gone Fishing. And it was about Ezekiel. We all know Ezekiel from The Devil in the Blue Dress. That's how most people know this character, that the character played by Denzel Washington. And so it's a series of books based on that character. And he gave me that book, and it was about Ezekiel, who grew up in Houston, even though I didn't grow up in Houston, played in Houston, then moved out to LA. And I think that kind of resonated with me, even though, you know, I love fishing and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay. And I started reading, more of his books and kind of fell in love with Walter Mosley's books. So, I don't know if you're watching this new thing with Samuel Jackson. I can't even say the guy's name, but that's a good show on Apple TV. You got to watch that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever really, really master the triangle offense while with Phil?
Man, let me just say this, man. When you have a good IQ, and people say, oh, the triangles is difficult. If you're a smart basketball player, it is not.
Yeah.
And when you have 4 years of college or 3 years of college, it is not. But if you play on these AAU teams now and you just let someone roll the ball out to you and you just be, I'm going to play off my athleticism. All I know is a pick and roll and that's it and one-on-one, it's hard. But for me, the triangle was so easy because if you look at what we did in Houston when we kind of started small ball in 95, we ran pretty much the triangle. We just moved it. I was allowed to do whatever I wanted to on the backside of your Dream, but Dream really only liked me to pass the ball to him for some reason because, I was tall and could just snap it down to him where he liked to catch it. But it's just cutting. It's just cutting, spacing, and terminology, blind pig, snatch cut, all these kind of terminologies. Like, dude, this is what we did in Houston. We just, it was all about reading how your defender played you. You either cut baseline or you cut over the top. And for me, it was very simple.
Like Stu Les say, read and react. That's what he's always talking about. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing with basketball players now. They don't know how to react or play without the ball because every guy now has to have the ball in their hand to be successful. Except Steph Curry, he's always on the move and he's just, one of those phenomenal players.
Yeah. When did Big Shot Rob start?
It started in 95. Craig Kilborn was on ESPN and we were playing the San Antonio Spurs in 95. And I was 0 for 8 or 0 for 9 or something like that. And I hit one shot and it was at the end of the game. And he was trying to be, I think he was being sarcastic when he said, oh, Big Shot Bob, I only made one shot that game. And after that, it kind of just stuck with me and it's been, rolling me ever since because I know a lot of guys you meet now, they be like, what's up, Big Shot? I was like, I want to ask them, do you even know my first name? Because, people don't, as an athlete, either know by your first name like Kobe or your last name like Coop. And so people sometimes don't even know what your first name is.
But Rob, I love that, man. Give me my respect because you know what? It don't matter what's happening on the court. Get the ball to Rob. And I mean, that was the one thing you were known for, being able to hit that shot. You could go 10 for 10 or you can go 1 for 10, but it's that one shot that everybody recognizes, man.
So I remember when I got traded to, when I got let go and went to San Antonio, we were playing LA in their first game in San Antonio. And Cole went up to Karl Malone like, don't leave Rob. Karl like, I got it. No, you don't understand what I'm saying. Don't leave Rob. He's like, I got it. Don't leave. It was so funny. I was like, Cole, shut up, man. Let me get them. And crazy thing is, he left me, but in the same spot I had missed the previous season when I was with the Lakers in San Antonio, I got the same shot. And in my mind, it's redemption time, right?
Yeah.
I'm rattling the same damn results. I missed the shot, and Cole went over there and yelled at Karl, I told you not to leave, Rob. You lucked out this time.
Is it really a feeling at the end of the game? Because I'm a firm believer in the most clutch players in the NBA also happen to be the best players because they're going to shoot. They're going to get more opportunities at the end of the game and shoot to their percentages over the course of a big enough sample. But you kind of bucked that trend because you hit so many big time shots. It's weird that you brought that up because I tell people all the time, I don't think you understand how hard it was for me to do that because during the course of a game, it depends. When you're not the star, you might get 3, 5, 10 shots a game, but you're not going to get more than 12 shots a game if you're not the star on the team. The teams I played for, except for my first couple years in Houston, and you have to be on point, man. But luckily I was on point a lot of those times. I had got a couple of shots, got a little rhythm, and for me, I always blank out. And what I mean, it just goes back to your fundamentals. It goes back to the mechanics. It goes back to those millions and millions of hours spent on a playground, in a gym, doing all those shots. And it for me, every time I got the shot, it was like picture. It's like do this, do that, do this, shot. And for me, I never really thought about it. I never, cared if I got the shot. I always wanted the shot, But I was like, you know what? If it comes to me, it comes to me. You know, it's a term I always like to say, the basketball guys will lead you to where you need to be.
Hey, we listening to Robert Horry on Showtime with Coop. Rob, a couple of more questions for you, sir. Again, I want to thank you for being on today. You know what? You played on so many spectacular teams, but the one team I really see that I kind of identify you with is that great Spurs team. Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, Ginobili. Tell us one thing that we don't know about Tony Parker that you can say publicly.
You know what, Tony, great teammate. He was one of the fastest guys I've ever played with. Think about this, for a couple of years, I think 3, maybe 4 years, I don't remember. He led the league in points in the paint. You know, and you know how hard that is. And so I'm always trying to get my son, Christian, to try to, you know, emulate him. And it's weird. I said, dude, you got to be like Tony Parker. Get in here and learn how to shoot jumpers, little floaters, you know, get that soft touch around the basket, because that's so important to me. You know, nowadays the game is built on the 3, but Tony was a great teammate. I'm the one who actually introduced him to Eva Longoria.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, because I knew Eva from when I played in LA. So when she came, you know, it was all the big to do because Desperate Housewives and all this kind of stuff. So she came in the locker room. She came to me because she knew me from the Lakers and stuff. We were talking. And then I introduced her to Tony. And next thing you know, they're going.
Did she ask to meet him?
Yeah.
He asked you to meet him?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And why do you think she's in the locker room?
And it was when she came to the locker room, everybody's like, what the hell is this woman doing in the locker room? And Pop was kind of like heated about it, man. He was like, what's she doing? You know, Pop was very protective of his players. That's the one thing I credit for. He don't want his players to get no bad press, nothing to distract you. So this was the Eva thing. And it was like, so, you know, Tony needs to, I don't know if he want to credit me for introducing the Eva because they divorced, but I don't know about that. But I'm the one that introduced him to Eva.
What was your favorite championship?
I think for me, 95 with the Rockets was my favorite championship, just for the fact that we had to overcome so much. No home court advantage. Right. Beat Utah in Game 5, and they tried.
The 7 seed?
It was a 6 seed.
6 seed.
6 seed. They tried in Utah. They tried to hold the clock, and they got an extra 10 seconds to get a shot off. We still won that game. Went on to play the Phoenix Suns. We went down 3-1 in that series. 3-1.
And y'all came back?
Yeah. AC Green was talking trash. Can you believe that? He was talking trash to all people. And I was like, uh-oh. And then we won that series. And then we went on to play San Antonio. And everybody talks about that series with Dream and David Robinson. When David Robinson got MVP. And then we went on to sweep Shaq and Penny in the finals. And so that run was so spectacular for us because we went small ball. They moved me from the small forward to the power forward, which I was pissed about because, man, Charles, you played against Charles Coop. He hit you with that big old bud and the elbows, and you be hurting at the end of the game. So we went small ball. It kind of worked out into our favors. And, and for me, I think it kind of put me in a box. And what I mean by that is all of a sudden I became this spot up 4 guy, and that's not who I was. I was a slasher. I was a post up guy. I did everything in the game, but for me, I've always been a team first guy. If that's what the coach wants, that's what I'm gonna do. And all of a sudden, I became this post up guy, and I went from having plays run for me my first 4 years in the NBA to like, let's go out there and spot up. If you open, shoot it. And it makes a big difference in the player's game. If you get a play ran for you. And I've been playing with Eldon Campbell. Eldon Campbell is the one guy I always like, we got to run a play for Eldon. Because if you run a play for a guy, he becomes engaged. And Eldon, you give him 1 or 2 plays, and if he scores, you're going to get an all-star type of player that night. So that's what I tell guys. Even when I was coaching my AAU team, I ran plays for everybody on the floor. Even though some kids were reluctant to shoot, I said, no, I need that confidence for later on in case you have this moment where we need you. So you need to run plays for everybody at some point.
Hey, Rob, you said something interesting. AC Green talking trash. What's he going to say? The Lord is going to get you for not going to church. What kind of trash can he?
The Lord will smite you.
Well, because he was talking trash because the previous year they were up 2-0 on us, and we came back to beat them, then became.
Bro, what could he say? Tell me.
He was like, "It's never going to happen again. We're up 3-1. That happened last year was a fluke. We're the best team. We're going to beat them." And next thing you know, he's tucking his tail.
Can't see AC Green saying fluke. That's too close to fuck. So I don't. Anyway, we listened to Robert Horry. Robert, a couple more questions for you, man. Your thoughts on the Lakers this year and in the future?
Having to watch the Lakers, over and over, this is the first time when you see a team you feel bad for them. And what I mean by that is they just had bad luck. All the AD injuries, and everybody always talk about, he's soft. First of all, you gotta get pushed on you. You strain your MCL. Happened to me. You're trying to throw all these lobs to this guy with a lot of traffic around him. He come down on someone's foot. You have to protect him from himself sometimes. And for me, they always want to throw AD lobs. And that's something I would never do unless it's a fast break. But in the paint with a lot of traffic, I'm not doing that. And with LeBron was fantastic this year. I just think they put Vogel in a bad situation, man, because he didn't have the big three never played together. They kept changing the team on him. As a coach, man, I ain't gonna lie. I had to say this, Coop. I win a championship, and next year I got a different team. I'd be pissed, man.
Yeah.
Because you want to not take away from my team, add to my team.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I don't think people understand how vital JaVale McGee was to that team. People look at some of the antics he do, and they're like, oh. But they would take one bad play that he does and blow it up like he did 40 plays. I'm like, there's no different than LeBron coming down, trying to do a no-look pass, throwing it out of bounds, no look from AD. Everybody makes a mistake in the game, but his mistakes always seem to be bigger than what they were because you're going to get the best out of him. Think about it. During the championship year, the first 2 points of the game were halftime scored by him on an alley-oop.
Yeah.
And it's guys like that. You can see what he's doing with Phoenix right now. But it's guys like that are vital to teams, but the management somehow forgets the importance of the people who do the little thing. And you can't always go to the superstars because 9 times out of 10, the superstar ain't dived on the floor for a ball. Exactly. 9 times out of 10, the superstar ain't gonna jump over the table trying to save a ball. And I hate to say this, 9 times out of 10, a superstar is the main one that ain't gonna rotate to that guy in the corner because he's like, I don't respect it.
You know what I mean? So right, yep.
Well, and you got 2 superstars. Kobe misses, Shaq misses, ball gets bounced out to Robert Horry, who hits from the top of the key to beat the Kings, right? Like sometimes superstars don't always make the right plays.
Exactly, but you need. I look at the Lakers, and let's say if you need 5 pieces to a pie, and they all have to fit perfectly. I don't think that pie. Those 5 pieces fitted perfectly in that pie. It was too much or too little. It never was a perfect fit. And it was, to me, it was, I loved with the Lakers. It wasn't right, man. It just wasn't, the situation just wasn't right. The pieces just didn't fit to me.
And of course, obviously the first head that got a role is Vogel. Who do you think they bring in to coach the Lakers?
Man, I said this from day one. I think it needs to be somebody that the guys respect. I said my first instinct was Sam Cassell because he's been around the league. He has played with Spree, Kevin Garnett. He's been on the what's his name up in Philly forever. And then my next pick was Darvin Ham. And the reason I said Darvin Ham, and I was telling our boy Brad Turner this, I was like, yo, this is why I would get Darvin Ham. I said he's been an assistant coach. I said he you think about it, he's an intimidating factor. If you look at Darvin Ham, there's no players that are going to challenge him because you might get your ass whooped. And so now I'm looking at Darvin Ham, but also I'm like, LeBron, maybe 2-3 years left. Giannis, 2-3 years left. Yo, Giannis, remember me? I coach you. Come on out to LA, guy. Come on out to LA. So to me, that's what I would be thinking. I would think for down the line or something of that nature, even though not saying that is amazing, because Darvin Ham, I know him personally. Smart guy. He's been around the NBA for a long time, played in this league. He understands the game. So those would be my 2 picks, but I wouldn't recycle anybody. It's my whole thing is if you had 3 coaching jobs, 4, you should never be a head coach again. You should either be an assistant or not a head coach because
unless, you feel and you won championships there. Okay, but if you ain't won nothing, why are you being a coach again? Don't bring that guy to LA because LeBron, I don't know, I can't speak for LeBron, but I'm saying if it was me, this guy ain't won shit. Why am I respecting him? He coached this guy. I know our team is good, but still though, at the end of the day, you need some X's and O's to get you through the game. And if the guy ain't won nothing and he struck out 3 times, why are you bringing him here? I wouldn't do that.
Rob, the playoffs are going on right now. Tell us who wins the East, tell us who wins the West, and who wins the championship.
After watching Boston last night and watching him turn back the time clock, but I'm still thinking the East is going to be Milwaukee. I just think Giannis is the hardest playing guy in the game. He doesn't know how to stop. His motor is he reminds me of a big Westbrook. He motor doesn't stop. Ugly 3-point shooter that's streaky. Everything he does is streaky, but he can get to the hole with ease. And then in the West, I just like Phoenix. I think Dallas done messed up. They done pissed CP3 off because someone attacked his family, which is so wrong. And CP3 is a better man than me. Let me say this, because if you touch my mama, you touch my wife, there ain't a man in the fucking world can stop me because I'm coming at you and I'm beating you down. So I think
he's a little kid though, Rob.
Who cares?
I don't care. If he's old enough to put hands on my mama, I'm old enough to put hands on him. So I just think I think Phoenix is one of the teams that's been consistent. Phoenix reminds me of the way the Golden State Warriors used to be, moving the ball, have a good center, like they had with Bogut, that even though I think this center is better than Bogut, but I just like Phoenix in the way they play. And plus, I love Monty as a coach. Monty was with us in 2005. We won the championship when I was with the Spurs. And he has a great basketball mind. A lot of respect for him, man, in more ways than one.
So Phoenix wins the championship, you think, this year?
I think Milwaukee still wins it. I just think, Drew is the key to that team. Once they traded for Drew, that made a big difference because he runs that team. He can score when Giannis ain't scoring, and he plays tough defense.
Rob, thank you so much, sir, for being on. You're at Spectrum. You're one of the guys I enjoy listening to, okay? And Barry White. I'm sorry, not Barry White, but James Worthy. I love listening to you guys. Rob, anything you got going on you want to talk about, sir?
I'm actually doing this new podcast called NBA Finals File. It's with me and Jabari Davis. We're doing it on iHeartRadio, and it's kind of cool because we're doing a deep dive into the greatest NBA Finals. We actually just did yours in 1984 when y'all played the Celtics, but unfortunately.
Why you do that one, Rob? We lost.
It was a great game, man. It was a great game.
It was.
Breaking it down, I don't think people always talk about, it's a time period where the NBA wasn't scoring. You guys averaged over 110 points a game in that series, and the Boston was moving, and it was just a great game. And then I didn't know you led the league in 3-pointers that year. Even though
come on, baby. They gave 2 a game. They didn't think a big shot Coop. They gave it the big shot Rob. That sounds better. But I can shoot. I'm like you, Rob. I got a shot every now and then. I don't get 4 or 5 shots a game.
Right. So you forget you talk to a guy who can relate. So, but that's the fun part of it, Coop. We all like that. The NBA's Final Four is so cool that I can just, watch these games and just talk about them. And after watching this game, I've been a huge fan of yours, Fair. I'm gonna say this also. I used to, wear my strings out until my high school coach said you can't do that. And then, I love the way you play defense. And man, you know what? They always talk about me in Hall of Fame, but dude, there's no questions in my mind. You are a Hall of Famer. You Defensive Player of the Year. You've done so many great things for the Lakers, but more importantly, you did so many great things in the community. And I also want to tell you this. When I speak to kids, I try to bring out my inner Coop because the way you can control an audience, man, is fantastic, man. So I love when I have the chance to, do those events with you because I steal stuff from you every time that we go to these events because you're so good at keeping people engaged and moving the crowd. So, man, I just want to say thank you for being you, man.
Thank you, Rob. And you know what? I'm going to stroke you too, because Rudy T just got into the Hall of Fame. And Rob, I do. The only person I compare myself with as a player, and I'd like to compare myself with Kobe or Michael Jordan, but it's you, because you're a two-way player. You are a multi-positional defense. You could guard 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s, and then some 5s. And Rob, I do believe you need to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm gonna go behind Rudy T on that, because it's about what you give to this game. Yeah. And sometimes people look at it as people scoring all the time. Well, there's another end of the court, and you play that in, Rob. And again, man, thank you so much. Hopefully we get in before we die, so our kids don't have to do our induction speech.
I know. Hey, Coop, but here's the funny part. When I think about good defensive players, I think about you. And I think for me, the one thing I always regret is that I didn't get mad at my team in Houston. And what I mean by that is because, this day and age, you got to have your team promote you or put you out there. In the year, they was always promoting Dream. And I'm like, y'all forget, dude, I'm the one who got 100 blocks and 100 steals each and every season. Why I'm not named on the all defensive team? And I went back and looked. I'm like, I think I was the only one. I was like, I was the only one. It's like 3 of us that had 100 blocks and 100 steals, and I never got considered for an all defensive team. And that's the one regret that I have in playing this game, because I never made any goals for myself individually. The only goal I told myself is I want to be on the all defensive team one year, and I never made it. So that's my biggest regret. I guess the 7 championships I have to, ease that.
Robin, you are my all defensive team in my heart, baby. I love you, Robert Horry. Man, you take care. Again, thank you so much for being on, Ari.
And last for me, I mean, you want to talk about you're selling a couple of championship rings, and it's for a chair. You want to talk about the chair? Aren't you selling some championship rings from San Antonio? Didn't you sell them, or
me?
No, you didn't.
No.
Okay, there was a story out there that you were selling your Spurs championship rings. Is that a fake? Is that a false story?
That was a false. But you know what though? People know this, Cooper. Have you ever told people that we get 2 rings? People don't know this, but when you win a championship, you get 2 rings.
2? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for me, my mom has one, my dad has one, my ex-wife has.
You have 14 rings.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. So yeah.
Where my rings at? I ain't get but one, right?
They didn't do that for y'all, Coop.
I ain't get but one. Where my rings? Robert Horry, thank you, brother. Thank you, and continued success with you, man. I know your son is playing AAU basketball. Hopefully 2-1 Elite, which is my AAU team, and big shot Rob. We could get in one of these tournaments and play against each other. And
all you gotta do is just let him come play with you. Then we'll be good to go.
All right, hey, there you go. Rob, have a wonderful day, man. Thank you so much,
too,
brother.
Always blessings to you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Take care.
All right.